Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and welcome to Comic Uno episode 127. And this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show, and technically there are some books that came out today, January 1st, but I'm counting them all as the other day that they came out. I think it's December 30th. So let's get started. 17 comics. This is a very big haul for the end of the year. Usually the companies tend to give us less comics, but because Marvel released comics on January 1st, there are some more books to review. So let's get started. Number 17, which is my worst pick of the week, Superman Wonder Woman issue 24. I've been kind of raving about this book usually because I really liked how they handled the relationship of Wonder Woman and Superman, but not making it a shipping book. I actually thought it was just one of the best Superman books that are out there. But that kind of has changed with this arc. Now that we're getting the breakup and it just kind of feels awkward, this book. It's them not really being friends during this breakup phase, so I'm like, do you need this book now that they've broken up? I don't know. And also the Parasite arc really just didn't interest me that much, so I just felt a bit bored with this issue. We'll see where it goes. Supposedly, I think the series is honestly going to be more of a tie-in series, because we're going to see the Vandal Savage arc coming up, which is going to be tied into this book. So we'll see where this series ends up going, but I wasn't a big fan of this issue, so I gave it 2.5 stars. Alright, so that's number 17. Moving on to number 16, which is a book that I either like, there's aspects I like about it, but some aspects I don't like about it, and that is Black Canary issue 6. Now, I like this issue for I guess the band war, you know, the battle of the bands, you know, legit battle of the bands. You get to see the last lead singer, who now has a canary cry, fight against Black Canary with their voices, and I thought that was pretty cool and unique, and the way they drew it is kind of awesome. A little confusing, but kind of awesome. So I like the coloring, and I like the uniqueness of this book. But at the same time, I thought it was a little confusing when you're seeing them fight. Because they're fighting with their voices, you're not really seeing a lot of physical stuff throughout the issue. And then I got really confused by the end, where I guess the little girl who they've been trying to protect, Ditto, is connected to Black Canary's ex-husband, who's now a little bit older, and that's the cliffhanger. So I was a bit confused by that. I thought it went a little out there by the end of the issue, but I did like the Battle of the Band stuff, but I don't know where the actual story arc's gonna be going. I kind of wish they focused more on the White Canary story, which I'm a lot more interested in. So Black Canary issue 6 gets 2.5 stars. Wasn't my cup of tea. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 15, which is Superman Lois and Clark issue 3. The Lois I have seen in for the series. They focus more on this telepathic villain who's now part of Hank Henshaw, and I did not care about that story as much as the Lois and Clark story. And you don't get a lot of Lois and Clark in this issue. You do get to see them interact, of course, but just not a lot of it. The artwork's definitely good. I love how classic the artwork looks, and that's something I'm really enjoying about it. But most of the story was kind of boring because, again, it's focusing on this villain that I didn't really care about, and Hank Henshaw, who I've never really cared about. And I wanted more from the Lois and Clark story, especially, you know, people trying to chase them. And maybe this other story is going to connect to that, but I wasn't so interested in this issue. So I gave Superman Lois and Clark issue 3 3 stars. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 14, which is Deadpool and Cable, issue 1. I expected to like this issue a lot more than I did, because I was excited to see Deadpool and Cable kind of, you know, team up again. But this is definitely more of a Deadpool book than a Cable book. Cable is just kind of helping out Deadpool, but it's Deadpool trying to get this time traveler suit and trying to get the scientist, but not having to kill him, because in the future he might kill the scientist, and Cable's like, no, you can't kill the scientist. So it's now trying to prevent that future, but at the same time trying to make this time travel suit not fall into the wrong hands. Now, the thing I liked about this issue was, of course, the humor of Deadpool. But that's why I get the Deadpool miniseries, because I take Deadpool in small doses. I can't really read him monthly. I just kind of get bored of him. But I do like his miniseries. Like, one of my favorite miniseries in a while was Hawkeye vs. Deadpool. It was a really well done miniseries. And that's why I picked up Deadpool and Cable, kind of give it a try. But this issue didn't blow me away. Wasn't so interested in the plot. But Deadpool, again, had some humorous things in the issue. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. I don't know if I'll give the next issue a try, depending on how big that week is when it comes out. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 13, which is Grimm Fairy Tales, issue 117, which I was upset to see so low because I was really excited to read this issue because we see Haley returning. We saw some big stuff happening with Phoenix dying, supposedly. We don't really have the answers about that. But a lot of this is very much in people's minds. So it got a little bit confusing, I felt, where you're in this person's mind and this person's mind, and here we are now. And it did focus more on our main characters and not so much the students. And I really do like the students a bit more, and that's why I like the cliffhanger of this issue. And I definitely have more faith in the next issue, because it'll be focusing on the students and how they're handling this dream situation. So, and also I loved Haley in this issue. It's great to see Haley and Ali back together, and Haley alive. So that was definitely my favorite part of the issue. And also the artwork I thought was a bit sketchy, a little crumbly, I guess is the best way to put it. A lot of line work that I felt like wasn't needed. So usually I love the artwork for this series, but I guess because they were doing the dream sequence thing, I just didn't think it worked. So I gave this issue 3 stars, and hopefully the next issue will be more exciting for me, especially again with Haley's return. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 12, I think we're up to. And that is The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 6. Now, as I said before, there were some books that were released on January 1st, today, while I'm recording this. So I did buy those books, and I will let you know which those books are. Amazing Spider-Man was one of those books. So technically it's supposed to come out next week, but it came out a bit early, and my store had it. So just want to let you know which books those are. Like I said, Amazing Spider-Man was one of them. Now, this issue I thought was an improvement from last issue. Last issue I actually gave 2.5 stars. It was probably the lowest I've given an Amazing Spider-Man book in a really long time. But I thought this issue was an improvement for the Spider-Man story. We get to see him fight Mr. Negative. Cloak and Dagger was in here, which is cool, because we haven't seen them in a while. Not the Ultimate Universe versions, but the regular version. So I was interested in that. But the actual Peter Parker story kind of bored me. His global business thing with China, that was the issue. And him having a kind of date with somebody, so that's what's going on with the issue. I didn't love the Peter Parker stuff, but I did like the Mr. Negative stuff. And I thought the artwork was an improvement too. Even though I felt like the backgrounds could have been dealt with better, I do like this artist's style better than the last artist. So Amazing Spider-Man issue 6 gets 3 stars. Alright, so we are up to now number 11, which is Superman Wonder Woman Annual, issue 2, which obviously got a lot higher than issue 24. Now, again, with the continuity thing with DC, I'm a little confused of when they broke up, when they didn't break up. Here in this issue, they haven't broken up yet. So, do we need this issue? It's debatable, if we actually do need the issue, but I like the issue because it does dive into their relationship. And I will say I don't really love Wonder Woman and Superman together, but it is interesting to kind of delve into how they feel about each other. And how their relationship works and how it doesn't work. And in the beginning of the issue, you see kind of their steadier relationship when, you know, they felt like a lot of things were going for them. You see the Aquaman and Mara's like, oh, you guys seem happy. And then you see the things that kind of get in their way, especially Wonder Woman being the god of war, and Wonder Woman not telling Clark, and then also Clark not having his abilities, and I guess Clark comparing his relationship to his parents' relationship, that he wants to have that ultimate relationship like Mom and Pa Kent had, and it doesn't seem like Clark is having that right now with Wonder Woman. So he was actually about to ask Wonder Woman to marry him, but then he sees the situation, he's like, I don't think it's the right time. So is it a needed story? Probably not. But if you like the relationship, you might want to see why they broke up. you would probably want to read this issue. And for me, I thought there were some interesting character moments that I thought it was worth picking up. But I will say the artwork, there are a lot of different artists on this issue. So like this part of the artwork I thought was way too dark. There's some artwork where I thought there wasn't enough detail. So I'm not a big fan when you see a lot of multiple artists on one book, and you do get that with this issue, and it definitely, you could tell it's different artists. So again, overall, Superman, Wonder Woman, I give 3.5 stars. It didn't blow me away, but I thought it was worth at least picking up the annual, and I thought this issue was better than issue 24. Alright, so now moving on to number 10, and that is Nova, issue 3. Probably the best Nova issue I've read of this new series, and definitely the best all new, all different Avengers story I've read. Because we get to see the young heroes work together and be like, hey, we're Avengers, but it's not that exciting. And they go on a mission with each other. And then what Nova's dealing with is that he finds out that his father is an alien and not actually his father. So an alien has replaced his father, and he has to tell his family. So he's down on the dumps. He can't really concentrate on what he's working on, and his team is starting to notice that. And I had fun with this issue. I will say the artwork, I feel like shines a bit too much. Like they show the shininess of it, like the light reflecting on them was a little weird. But yeah, the artwork overall is okay. I'm not a huge fan of this new artist on Nova. But yeah, I kind of like the cartoonier side a bit more than this. Again, the shininess in the glares in the artwork, I think could be improved a bit. But yeah, so I did like the all new, all different stuff. It was what I expected from the team a bit more. Definitely a lot more character interaction than we're getting with the actual all new, all different Avengers title. So Nova issue 3 gets 3.5 stars. Definitely a lot of interesting story here and cool team interaction. Alright, what are we up to now? I think we're up to number 10, right? No, we're up to number 9, which is Batman and Robin Eternal, issue 13. I thought this was an improvement from last issue, because last issue was very forgettable. Honestly, I don't even remember what happened in the last issue. Or, I do now, but I remember when we were doing the live shows, like, honestly, I can't even tell you what happened last issue. Maybe because these things come out weekly, so all the issues kind of combine with each other. But this issue I thought was interesting, because we dig into Cassandra Cain's mind a little bit more. We're seeing her childhood. And my favorite part is when Cassandra realizes she's not a monster, not a weapon. And Batman's kind of the one telling her that. And this is from the past. And I love this cover. Such a beautiful cover. And you definitely get to see that in the issue. Where Cassandra uses her blood to wear a mask. To wear like this Batman-shaped mask. So I really loved Cassandra in this issue. Artwork could have had a bit more detail. But I definitely like the coloring for this issue. Like the colors that they used. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good Cassandra story, and when this series focuses on Cassandra, I think it really is at its best. So, Batman and Robin Eternal issue 13 gets 3.5 stars, and that is number 9. Now we're moving on to number 8. And I expected this book to be a little higher because I really love this creative team. And that is Wonder Woman issue 47. I love the artwork here. It's the same artist from Little Mermaid series of Zenescope. So Meredith Finch and I hope I can pronounce his name right. Mendaka. They both worked on the Little Mermaid Zenescope series, and now we're seeing them team up again for the Cheetah arc. And I mean, this artwork's just gorgeous, especially the facial expressions here. Hopefully, we can see Mendaka work on some more DC titles. I love his work, and he really does deserve more work. So really glad that Finch and Mendaka is able to work together again. So in this issue, actually I thought the story was a bit fillerish, and that's why it's not as higher as I would want the story to be. And also, I'm not a huge Cheetah fan, so if you're a big Cheetah fan, I think you're going to like this, because you're seeing Cheetah again, and I feel like you get definitely the aspects of what you would enjoy about Cheetah. And here we get to see that she has a choice with immortality or being Cheetah. And she's like, forget the immortality. I wanna be Cheetah. I don't want to be Barbara again. So I thought that was an interesting aspect of her character. And then also Wonder Woman dealing with kind of the politics of Themyscira, where the male characters that she was supposed to protect weren't protected. So now she has to kind of deal with the backlash of that. And that's a small part of the story we do get. And also, I guess, Wonder Woman getting used to that she is a god and what it means to interact with other gods. So I thought that was interesting also. But like I said, a lot of the story did feel a bit fillerish with the Cheetah stuff. I don't know if Cheetah was totally necessary to be told here, but it was an interesting story overall. So I gave Wonder Woman issue 47 3.5 stars. Alright, so I think we're up to number 7, I want to say. Hold on. Might be up to number 8. We are up to number 7, which is Justice League issue 47. I also expected this book to be a little higher. Now, there are a lot of plot points I enjoyed in this issue, like Power Ring, her ring is now taking over as the ring got closer to this crime syndicate. And then also the crime syndicate having to team up with the Justice League in the next issue. The parts I didn't like in this issue were that I felt the story felt a bit cluttered. There was a lot going on here. You get to see Darkseid's daughter, you know, do her thing. You have the crime syndicate, you got Power Ring, you have Superman with Wonder Woman and Batman. If I was going to cut out a story, it would have been the Superman and Wonder Woman story. I didn't think it was quite needed in this issue and probably could have been told in either a past issue or a issue in the future. It just felt like it didn't really mix here. But I enjoyed the artwork, I enjoyed the stories, but I felt like, again, the pacing could be dealt with a bit better in the Darkseid War, which is evident because we're already at part 7 of the Darkseid War, and I don't think that this series needed more than 7 parts to be told, or the story. So Justice League issue 47 gets 3.5 stars. So now we're moving on to number 6, which is another title that was released during the January 1st release. Also, Nova was released during the January 1st release also, and that is Spider-Man 2009, issue 5. I really enjoyed this issue, and I enjoyed the series when it's about Captain America 2009. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Miguel. I do like him in the series. Obviously, it's his series, but again, I think the series and 2009 in general is at its best when Captain America's there. She has the most intriguing story, and I'm really interested in the chemistry between Miguel and Captain America, and that's why I like this issue a lot. We get to see that there's this group of people who want to, like, destroy the United States. But also you get to see, again, the chemistry between Captain America and Spider-Man 2009, them learning more about each other. I especially like the moments where Captain America 2009 tries to explain how the relationship works between her and Roberta. So it's always intriguing to kind of see that side of the story. So yeah, Spider-Man 2009 gets a solid 4 stars, and hopefully we can see more Captain America 2009, because she is the best part of this series. So that's number 6. Now we're moving on to number 5. And that is All New Wolverine issue 3. Really thought this was a great action-packed issue. A good example of that is in the beginning of this issue, where we get to see Taskmaster and Laura fight each other. And Taskmaster is all bragging about, I can read everyone's moves, you can't defeat me. And then Laura uses her claw on her foot to destroy Taskmaster. But very much this issue is about the clones and Laura forming a relationship, and that the clones believe that they can kill people. And Laura says, no, we shouldn't. Trust me, I learned. I've killed a lot of people, and I just don't want to do that anymore. So it's very much an internal debate about killing, and also the clones debating about killing. The part I didn't love about this issue was probably the villains. I still don't really care about them, but I do care about the clones. So I guess I have to care about the villains because they're connected to the clones. But I think the actual head of Alchemax, or, you know, the people working for them, could be a bit more interesting. Also, I thought the cliffhanger could have been a little bit better. We have, like, this kind of cheesy Doctor Strange ending, where he says, because no one can watch my house without my knowledge, Wolverine, what do you want with Doctor Strange? So Doctor Strange is talking in third person. Thought that was a bit weird. So I understand it's more of like, oh, if you guys don't know who Doctor Strange is, you kind of have to have that ending. Especially this is new reader friendly. But for people that do know it's Doctor Strange, it's a little weird that he's talking in third person. But like I said, overall it's a very solid issue, action-packed, and there's some good character development in this issue. That's number 5. Moving on to number 4, and that is Tom Taylor's return for Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 4, Annual Issue 1. That is a mouthful. So Tom Taylor returned to this issue to tell another story of Injustice Gods Among Us, and I loved it because we get to see a very character-driven story. I usually don't care about Plastic Man, and this issue is about Plastic Man. And Tom Taylor actually made me care about the character, that he's kind of this deadbeat dad who cared more about his superhero life than caring about his son. And now he's trying to be a good father to his son, so he's breaking him out of jail, and the most protected jail there is. And in the process is able to break out other villains and heroes like the Green Lantern Corps, and that leads us into year 5 and hopefully the last year of Injustice Gods Among Us. And I say hopefully just because I feel like there's been way too many years of this book, but I am excited to see how the book will end because I know it's a 5-year gap between the game. But I like this issue because, like I said, it's a very well done, character-driven story with Plastic Man. Very good artwork. Even though there are different artists throughout the book, you don't really see that there are different artists. I felt like it was very consistently drawn. So I like that when I can see that in Annual compared to the Superman and Wonder Woman story. So I thought this was kind of a good goodbye to Tom Taylor's run, but also a good prelude to the next year. So I thought this did its job, and even though it's a $4.99 book, I thought you got a good meat of the story. So Injustice Gods Among Us Year 4, Annual Issue 1 gets 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Spidey Issue 2. I had a blast with this issue. I know some people feel that it's not a needed book, but especially if you're reading Amazing Spider-Man now and you want just classic Spider-Man, I say pick this up. It's a modern retelling of his origin story, and I'm having a blast with it. And I will say I usually don't like Bradshaw's artwork, but I think it really works for the story. And I liked how he did the paneling in this issue, and it was very unique. So I actually like Bradshaw's artwork here. And yeah, overall, really like the story. It's about Gwen and Peter kind of interacting a bit more with their tutoring stuff, and Peter trying to impress Gwen, and also trying to learn more about history and himself. He says, I have a lot of different personalities and different sides to myself, but which one do I use to impress Gwen? And he actually uses his history skills to defeat Sandman in this issue. I loved Gwen in this issue. Honestly, after reading this, I'm like, now I want to read more Spider-Gwen, because this personality of Gwen is very similar to the Spider-Gwen personality. So like I said, I thought this was a very good story if you miss old Spider-Man. And again, it's just a fun origin story with a modern twist. And I really like the relationship between Gwen and Peter, but also how they utilize Peter's life to bring into Spider-Man's adventures. So Spidey Issue 2, right, we're up to Issue 2, also was released on January 1st and is one of those type of books, and I gave it 4 stars, and that is number 3. So now we're moving on to number 2. Really happy to see this book really high, and that is Black Magick Issue 3. I love this book. It's really become one of my favorites from the new Image titles here. And it's a book I really get excited to read every month. And with this issue, we learn, of course, more about Rose Magick and who's trying to chase her. Now she's like being very overprotective about it. She's putting spells on her house, and the head witch of her cult is saying, you really have to do that. You have to put spells on your house. And also her partner is getting a little suspicious and saying, hey, Ro, you okay? You've dealt with a lot of stuff. And she's like, you know, I'll get over it. And now she actually has to kind of jeopardize her job to get the lighter from the evidence, and she switches the lighters that way her head witch can check the lighter and try to find out who's trying to kill Ro and targeting their circle. So I really enjoyed this book. I love the coloring for this book and the artwork. I love the noir style, and it's really cool how they can mix magic and crime and everything, and I really am intrigued in Rose's character and her supporting characters. So I thought this was a very well done book that just got me even more intrigued into the world of Black Magick. And also I just want to show you another great example of how they use magic here. Really well done. Very cool. So Black Magick Issue 3 gets 4 stars, and I can't wait to read more of this series. So that was number 2. Moving on to number 1, which I'm very happy to see this book as number 1, and that is Morning Glories issue 49. This is the penultimate issue to the season finale of Morning Glories, which is issue 50. And this issue blew me away because we finally get a lot more answers in the Morning Glories universe. We finally get to meet the headmaster, which is huge, and I expected that more in issue 50 than issue 49. And there's a lot of different things going on. That Casey won the election, that finally we have the Tower Ball game won by the blue side because they're able to pick up their scores at the time 8-13, which has become very important in this series. And then you do get some more clues of, in my opinion, I do think Morning Glories is some sort of purgatory. Because we see one of the teachers saying that this is supposed to be the place where you're supposed to learn from your mistakes and learn more about yourself. And I feel like that's very much the definition of purgatory. And also, who is the headmaster? Is he God? Is he the devil? Who is he? I'm very intrigued by that. And the idea and the theme that we get to see in this book, which is now, there is no good and bad. It's more all about perspective. And that's been going on for issues, and really this whole series of good and bad, and who is good and bad. So I think that really came to a head in this issue, and it's 100% worth $4.99. You get a lot more answers, and it gets me really excited to read issue 50, whenever that does come out. So that was my pick of the week. Let me know in the comments below what was your pick of the week, and your worst pick of the week, and everything in between. And of course, I'll Comic Uno episode 128 next week. So this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there's links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.